Planes! I do love planes. End of day 4. I'm back safely off the mountain. I'm not going to tell you if I got to the what 3 word square kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms now. I'm going to save that until I've edited the videos, build some suspense. Thank you so much for all the donations you've made. Last time I checked this morning it was £1,700, which is absolutely amazing. I'm flabbergasted. Thank you so much, everyone. I know those 3 charities are putting all the money directly to good use, which is great. I just thought actually as I came here, this is Calgary Airport I'm standing next to, because there's a coffee shop here and I was using that just to sit down and rest and recover for a little while, especially because my campsite has no electricity following the storms. And I thought I've got a really good quiz question for you, and I know several of you like quizzes, looking at you, Simon Akers Group. So here's my quiz question for you, very appropriate being next to a French airfield. Who were the first brothers to fly? Give me the right answer to that question. Who were the first brothers to fly? Stick it in the comments below. Maybe I'll try one of those LinkedIn polls and give you a couple of pre-filled answers as well. But put the right answer, the right answer to the who were the first brothers to fly in the comments below. And then in a couple of days, I'll give you the answer. So my quiz question for you all, who were the first brothers to fly? Give me the right answer. Well, obviously that was bait, because I wouldn't make it so easy to say it was the Wright brothers, because everybody knows the first brothers to fly were the Montgolfier brothers, who got there just a smidgen before the Wright brothers, a smidgen being 120 years. They flew from Paris, and when I say they flew first, actually it was a goat, a sheep and a pig or something that flew first, or a chicken, something like that, because they're sensible aviators, and their safety comes first in aviation, so you always try and test things before you put life at risk. But yeah, they made a hot air balloon, having observed how the heat made some tarpaulin lift over a fire that they had or something, and build big fires, and then yeah, made a hot air balloon. So in the 1780s you could get a pleasure flight in a hot air balloon over Paris. Isn't that amazing? What do you mean it doesn't count? Because it's hot air balloon and it's not heavier than air flight like the Wright brothers plane was. Okay. Let me tell you about Sir George Cayley. Sir George Cayley was an English industrialist. He, in his workshops and things, started building model gliders and flying them along inside. And then he made an even bigger one, and he tested that by pulling it along with some horses. And underneath that, he built a little chassis, a little cockpit to carry a person. Being a sensible aviator, he didn't try this himself first of all. Oh no, he got one of the boys under his employ to go in there first. Unfortunately, we don't know that boy's name. But yeah, he flew in the early 1800s in one of Sir George Cayley's gliders. It doesn't count. It doesn't count because it was being pulled along, so it was still attached to the ground. Oh, come on. Okay, let me introduce you to Otto Lilienthal. Otto Lilienthal was a German industrialist. In his back garden, I'm guessing he had a lot of land, he had a mountain or two, he built some gliders that he could hang on to, sit in, and go flying. And he flew them for about 20 years. His designs were the forerunner of the modern hang glider. And he was flying in something like the 1860s for about 20 years. You know how I said aviation can be dangerous? Yeah, after 20 years of flying, probably the most accomplished pilot of his time, he crashed and unfortunately he didn't survive. Yeah, but he counts, surely. He doesn't count because he was gliding, because he didn't have an engine. Okay, I'll grant you that. The Wright brothers got there with an engine. There's a little footnote before the Wright brothers. There's another Frenchman, actually. He was an officer in the Navy of France. They actually made an aircraft carrier, literally. They built something onto one of their ships that could take an aircraft, and they launched his engine-powered plane that he'd built off of the ship so it could fly. Whether it flew or whether it was thrown is probably a bit up to debate, but it didn't land safely. Certainly wasn't used twice, let's put it that way. It was before the Wright brothers. I think most people agree that it was a good attempt, but it wasn't flight. Certainly didn't impress the admirals enough because they didn't commission it to carry on. But it was an interesting experiment, wasn't it? Yeah. I will agree, the Wright brothers definitely got powered flight sorted. What I think is amazing about aviation history is that how quick it moves on from different things and different actions, and how so many people were working on different things at the same time, and that led to all the advancements. And if you think the Wright brothers flew in 1904, by 1908, 4 years later, Louis Blériot built his own monoplane, and he flew from Calais to Dover, 35 miles across the English Channel, after just 30 years of having engines that could work on planes. I think that's astonishing. If you're wondering how I know all these obscure facts about aircraft and aircraft history, I'm a nerd. helps. But actually this is one of the things I teach at the Royal Air Force Air Cadets. I'm a volunteer civilian instructor, and we teach 13 to 18-year-olds interesting things about aviation and the Royal Air Force, and skills useful in civil and service life. One of the other things I teach is navigation and map reading. But there's all sorts of things that we'll teach them. I think perhaps the thing that I got as being a cadet, one of the most important things I got, well, aside from being taught how to fly planes by the time I was 18 by myself, big win, one of the most important things I got was actually leadership training, because now I'm running a business, but a lot of the skills that I learned to run that business and start it when I was 21, and actually give people instructions and expect them to follow them, and just that whole dynamic of people, I learned from being a cadet, because the cadets have an NCO system, a rank structure, and we use that as staff to teach them leadership, the practical way, the stuff that's not so easy to learn from a book, because you're going to make mistakes, and it's a safe environment to make those mistakes. So if you happen to know any 13 to 18-year-olds who've got a bit of adventure into them, or an interest in aviation, or really just need to get out of the house and do something useful and constructive and have fun while they're doing it, may I suggest you introduce them to your local Air Training Corps squadron. It's a good thing. And if they're not into flying and aviation, I definitely recommend the Army Cadets, or the Sea Cadets, or the Scouts. Anything that gets young people out learning stuff pays dividends so many years down the line. And in fact, actually it was a different youth club that taught me, did my first navigation training that I now use with the Air Cadets as part of their leadership development stuff. Yeah, I was a busy young man when I was a teenager. And of course, all of you being on LinkedIn are probably a bit old to join as cadets, but squadrons are always looking for volunteer staff, and the stuff that you can volunteer for, aside from obviously the technical lessons of navigation, aviation, that sort of stuff, even the administration that helps these units run is fundamental and critical. And I can't say enough how I can't understate how important it is, the hidden things in the background that helps these organisations run. Which also brings me neatly back to Map Action, one of the organisations that I'm raising money for, because they're always in the background at these disaster zones, using mapping and giving their skills and services to make everything else more efficient. So, if that sounds of interest to you, look up the Royal Air Force Air Cadets, maybe find your local squadron, and I hope you have lots of fun. Thanks everyone.